Good day to you, partner. I'm keen, and I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
Ah! No! Oh my god in heaven, dude. Hey guys, Wheat Solo here, aka the Skeleton King. You don't know how happy it makes me to hear "Hello, Danny." It even made me so happy that I was willing to waste too much time trying to set this build up. The setup on this build is really not that bad. This is the fabled Optimal Summoner. You may have heard me and Topwigs talk about it in Necro Chat if you were ever there, when someone said they had figured out the best summon build in the game, and we would shut them down and put them back in their place because we are the masters. We are the alphas, and you are the betas. You are the plebeians. We control the world. I'm basically deep state, okay? If there was a deep state, I'm the deep state. At least a Project Diablo 2, okay? So what is the real point about this build, and why do we think it's so-called optimal? When you have a summoner, you have so many skill points, and those skill points are going to go towards the highest damage skills. Obviously, just doing full skellies works, doing full fire golem works, the famous max golem build, or even doing something like, some revives with some mages, doing like a slight elemental thing. This build takes it a little bit further, and we're going to be maxing out fire golems, at least the fire golem skill and golem mastery. We're going to max out revives. We're going to max out mages. We're going to put 1 point skeleton mastery, and then we're going to get as much LR as possible. We're still going to run bone armor. We're not going to get desecrate, but you definitely could. And we're going to have to get blood warp to 30 CD. You don't need that, but again, there's going to be way too many situations where you're going to want to warp again. Technically, in higher density maps, if the map is filled properly, you won't need to warp too many times in a row. So you could cut some corners with blood warp and maybe run 1 CD down or 2, as in a 0.4 second cooldown or a 0.2 second cooldown. How is that car that loud? It's still irritating me. So the gear on this is actually really, really, really good. I have a dedicated Fire Golem wand, literally a perfect dedicated Fire Golem wand, okay? I have a pretty good Fire Golem shield. I believe I have the perfect Fire Golem circlet. Technically, it could depend on your skill distribution. As you may know, Fire Golems, mastery is generally better than skills until skills are better than mastery. I know that's a terribly useless way to put it, but it's just kind of the point. But it's basically, let's just call it BIS. The Trang's armor is pretty bad. It really needs fire facets in it, and even then I could be using an Ormus robes, and that would be a little bit better than that. And maybe for the last video, I'll do that. I'll see if we have one on non-ladder. This is on non-ladder. That's part of the reason why the gear is just so ridiculously good. I mean, I have a 10 fucking FCR cord third eye amulet, okay? That's gotta be the most valuable thing on this character right now. I mean, the Fire Golem wand is sick, but a 10 FCR core third eye, God, that thing is ridiculous every time I look at it. As you may have noticed, content is slowed down. I will be mainly focusing on non-ladder and basically spending the end of the season doing what I think I love more than anything else, which is playing summon builds. Playing summon builds are kind of frustrating, but as you can see, the gameplay on this build is pretty smooth. Now, you may be thinking, Wheat Solo, you're clearly not clearing the entire screen. Brian Carlson is going to come into this video and smash you. Well, Brian Carlson did smash me already. In fact, he actually came into the video, and then I'm actually hacking the footage. He did all the clearing. Okay, this is just clever editing on my part to edit him out of the video. The whole reason why people talk about council members so highly, well, they do have good single target DPS, so there is that. is that they cast Hydras. Now, by the way, there are some ways to optimize this a little bit, like basically using a teleportal, a town portal. Don't even ask me what I was trying to say, okay? It was a combination of telepipe and town portal from PSO. Anyways, so like in a case like that, you wouldn't really need your 0 CD blood warp because it would be faster to take the town portal and then just go back through the portal. But then remember, you should actually make your map right next to where the town portals go. But that is an example of how you can optimize your clear speed without having to deal with a 0 CD blood warp or having to use Blink Enigma. Hydras, besides doing amazing single target damage, leave behind a turret that will continue to kill enemies. Now, it's very important that you kill enemies that are low fire immunity. I love ROB, but since ROB has been changed to have a consistent amount of immune to fire Doom Knights, it's a lot harder to make this build work as fluidly as it did. I'm still going to run a video, I promise you, on that map with this build, but I actually might wait until the Archer-based variant because I have a sick rolled map. Like, I'm talking no bad mods, well, you know, no max life basically, no open wounds, and 310 density before the standard of potatoes. So I think I'm going to save that for the Archer variant because the Archer variant just does better on ROBs since you have a little more oomph behind the build besides your elemental damage. Is there any way I would change this version? Speaking of the Fire Golem, Revive with Eternity, and the Mage variant with 1 point Skeleton Mastery and then as much LR as I could get. I actually wouldn't run Trang's Phoenix. I would run Enigma Exile. And you can combine Enigma with Phoenix or Trang's with Exile. It's not like you have to do one or the other. But the reason why they kind of work well together is Trang's just gives you +5 to Blood Warp, and then Phoenix gives you Redemption so you absorb that health back. If you're going to be running Blink, you don't really need to worry about Blood Warp as much or your health loss, so you can kind of skip out on the Phoenix and run into Exile. Now, even if you have Emilio, Exile has much better defensive rolls. Yeah, you don't get the Fire Absorb. Okay, Phoenix is a ridiculous shield just no matter what. And as you can see, I actually think it was pretty clear. There were definitely a couple of sections I think it could have done a bit better on, but it was my first time doing a map at all seriously with this build, and I would say it's clear enough. I know Brian Carlson wouldn't, but, you know, we can't all be gods. So that's kind of the idea behind Blink, Enigma, and Exile, and then Trang's and Phoenix. And if I ran Blink with Enigma, I could cut some points out of Blood Warp, and then I could put those in the LR to get a little more radius, and I think that's the only change I would make. My idea on this final content is I'm going to make a video once with kind of a general clear, and then once with more of a speed run clear. By the way, I haven't even put all my points away yet. Here's the final SWAT build so you guys can look at it and some of the ridiculous gear I have. So stay tuned. I'm going to run a more optimal version of this, or a more optimal map at least, speed run. And then I'm going to keep doing different summon builds on non-ladder. And there is a chance that this could be near the end for me and PD2. Well, Skelly King out, guys. GG.